in India, and I can proudly say maybe in the world, we have a 36,000 square feet floor. I can also proudly say it's one of the movie with the largest effort of VFX and largest crew, largest number of days. And you can experience that with the last 40 minutes of the movie.
Is it possible to spend 450 crores on a horror comedy and actually make a profit?
So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be really hard.
In the current landscape of Indian cinema, colossal budgets are usually reserved for mythology, sci-fi or high-octane action, genres that justify the visual spectacle. But Prabhas is currently doing something that defies all conventional trade logic. He's taking a massive financial gamble on a genre that historically works best with mid-range budgets, and doing so with a director who has never handled a project of this magnitude.
Hello. Bhai, thoda aaram se.
While the trade analysts are busy calculating the break-even numbers, the real risk here isn't just financial, it is about a superstar attempting something fresh, different from the very image that made him a global icon. Since 2015, the world has largely seen only one version of Prabhas, the savior, the warrior, the larger-than-life demigod who carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. The Raja Saab is asking the audience to hit the reset button. It is asking us to forget the Amarendra Bahubalis and the Devratas for a moment. To understand why this shift is the most ambitious walk of his career, we first need to look back at the version of this star that the new pan-India audience barely knows, but the core Telugu audience is desperate to see again. Let's talk about Prabhas's darling image. For the last decade, the pan-India version of Prabhas has been defined by silence and stoicism. Whether he is playing the son of a god or a futuristic bounty hunter, the direction is almost always the same: stand tall, look intimidating, and speak less. The scripts have demanded he be a statue of power, often stripping away the very expressiveness that made him a star in the first place. But before the heavy armor and the desert wastelands, there was a different Prabhas. This was the darling era. If you revisit films like Bujigadu, Mr. Perfect, or the titular Darling, you see an actor who thrived on effortless charisma. He wasn't just destroying villains, he was teasing them. He was relatable, funny, and possessed a unique, lazy elegance that no other Tollywood star had. He could carry a scene with a simple smirk or a perfectly timed comedic reaction. This specific charm has been entirely missing from his filmography since 2015. While Baahubali gave him a global fame, it locked him in a cage of seriousness. Fans have consistently complained that the life in his performances feels suppressed by the weight of these massive productions. The Raja Saab is a 450 crore bet that this vintage persona is still alive. The promotional material, the colorful costumes, and the mass class tagline are all desperate signals to the audience that the darling is back.
Abhi dekh lijiye.
The movie promises to break the statue and bring back the human being. However, relying on nostalgia is tricky. The audience has evolved and Prabhas has aged. Trying to recreate the energy of a 2010 rom-com hero in 2026 is a massive gamble. If the charm feels forced or the comedy falls flat, it won't just be a bad movie, it will feel like a caricature of his past glory. And the man tasked with balancing this delicate nostalgia against a massive budget isn't a Rajamouli or a Prashant Neel, it is a director who finds himself in the most pressurized seat in the industry. If asking Prabhas to return to a darling persona is the creative risk, handing the keys of a Ferrari to a driver known for winning go-kart races is the production risk. This brings us to the director, Maruthi. Maruthi is a fantastic filmmaker within his specific lane. He is a master of the minimum guarantee. Films like Bhale Bhale Magadivyo and Mahanubhavadu were profitable because they were built on simple, relatable concepts, executed on modest budgets, and relied on situational comedy. He knows the pulse of the B and the C centers better than most. But the Raja Saab is not a modest budget film. The 450 crore number is staggering. To put it in perspective, horror comedies in India are typically mid-range vehicles. Stree 2 or Bhool Bhulaiya 3, even with their massive success, were not made on budgets like rival Baahubali. When you spend 450 crores, you aren't just making a movie, you are mandating an industry hit. The skepticism here is loud. When this project was first announced, the fan base was in turmoil. Why, after working with visionaries like Prashant Neel and Nag Ashwin, would Prabhas sign a film with a director known for mid-scale comedies? The fear is that Maruthi, who has never handled heavy VFX or a pan-India scale release, might deliver a product that looks like a tier 2 movie trying to wear tier 1 clothes. If the visual effects look cheap or the scale feels small given the price tag, the audience spoiled by the visual grandeur of Kalki and RRR will be ruthless. The movie needs to look like a ₹500 million spectacle, but it also needs to be genuinely funny. Balancing high-stakes horror VFX with slapstick comedy is a tone that even seasoned directors struggle to crack.
पागल हो गया है क्या? तो देख क्या रहे हो? भागो यहाँ से!
But even if we set aside the director and the budget, we have to look at the genre itself. Horror comedy is currently the golden goose of Indian cinema. With the massive success of films like Stree 2 and Bhool Bhulaiyaa 3, it is the safest bet at the box office right now. Audiences are flocking to theaters to be scared and entertained in equal measure. On paper, jumping on this bandwagon is a smart business move. However, for a superstar of Prabhas' stature, this genre is a double-edged sword. Historically, horror comedies work best with mid-range stars or ensemble casts because the genre demands vulnerability. To make the audience laugh or scream, the protagonist often has to look helpless, scared, or even silly. This goes against the very grain of a mass hero image. In a typical Prabhas movie, he is the one striking fear into others. In a horror comedy, he might be the one running away. We saw Rajinikanth pull this balance off masterfully in Chandramukhi, where he was stylish yet grounded. But we have also seen superstars fail miserably when they try to force their heroism into a script that demands humility. If the Raja Saab tries too hard to protect Prabhas' tough guy image, the horror won't land. But if he plays it too goofy, it risks alienating the fans who pay to see his swagger. It is a delicate chemistry. The movie needs to be scary enough to be a thriller and funny enough to be a comedy, all while accommodating a hero larger than the genre itself. If the balance tips too far in any direction, the film risks becoming a disjointed mess. And unfortunately for the Raja Saab, it doesn't have the luxury of a trial run. It needs to get this formula perfect on day one. So is the Raja Saab the riskiest project of Prabhas' career? Absolutely. It is betting on a genre shift that alienates his action fan base on a director who has never handled this scale. But perhaps that is exactly why this project is exciting. After years of playing safe, invincible gods, Prabhas is finally taking a gamble that makes him look human again. If it fails, it will be a historic cautionary tale. But if it works, it proves that the rebel star doesn't need a sword or a chariot to rule the box office. He needs to be himself. What do you think? Will the vintage charm of Prabhas survive the wave of Jananayagan, or is this a risk that will cost the producers dearly? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive and are interested in watching more, check out our last video about Jananayagan right here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.